Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Sas here. I'm here to do a quick little talk about and review of the ID documentary series Atlanta Child Murders. It was produced by Will Packer and it was excellent. It was a 3-part series. So of course I'm not going to talk about every little thing in the documentary. That's for you to go see and watch and enjoy, but I'm just going to hit the hot spots, the main spots. So let me just say, if you are triggered by anything that has to do with child abduction, child murders, anything like that, click off. Of course, I'm not going to be showing any pictures. I'm just going to be talking about it. But if there's something that you don't want to, hear, if it triggers you, click off now, okay? For the ones that stay and sit back, grab a snack, and enjoy. Okay. So, in the late 70s, early 80s, the heels of the civil rights movement, a lot of Southerners had, moved away, because, if you lived in the deep South, you was bombarded with racism, discrimination, beatings. I mean, it was just, horrible. So, on the heels of that, a lot of African-American people start coming back to the South. And it was a huge population growth in Atlanta. They were trying to, diversify the city. They had a black mayor, they had a black commissioner, they had, more officers in the police department. It was still racism. They were still discriminated against, but hey, it was a stride in the right direction. Atlanta, was booming. It wasn't nothing like it is now, but they were, growing and trying to get their city to grow with it, to grow with the population. Businesses was thriving, other neighborhoods was thriving, but what was not thriving was the majority of black neighborhoods, low income neighborhoods, they were still poor, so, it was just a hard time, crime rate was up, the homicide rate was higher than it's ever been, it was just a bad time, in the late 70s, early 80s. Okay, in July the 28th, 1979, someone was out in the woods. They were picking up cans and they come across the body of a young black man. Of course, they called the police. The police came out. They fanned out to do, a search, and they come across another body. Both were young black men. So they were like, okay, all right. So, of course, they had to do their work, all right. So 3 months go by and 3 more bodies, was reported, came up. And then we start seeing this influx of people reporting their children missing. Then they'll come across more bodies. So, people reporting their child missing, bodies showing up, they were like, what is going on? So, of course, the police department did not want to think that it was a correlation or a connection to the missing young man and the bodies, that was, showing up. So they didn't want to make that connection. Then it was this white homicide detective, and he was working the cases. And he kept notes, and he kept writing down, and he was like, obviously there's a connection here. Something's going on, there's a connection. So he goes to his major and he wrote him a letter and said, look, there is a connection between the missing and the murder. Okay, we're going to need to do something, So the major, he wasn't having it. Okay, he said, do you like being a homicide detective? He said, because if you do, you can take that note and shove it up your tail. I don't know who you think you are. Okay, don't you ever bring that up again. I mean, the police was not hearing it. They did not want to hear it. So the homicide detective and his partner, there was another body, okay? It was near a dumpster. It was a young black male, and there was a piece of fiber on the sole of this young man's shoe. So, before that, they really hadn't had, that much evidence to go on. But, they had this. So they took it to the lab. Now, mind you, this was like in 1979, 1980. So, of course, they were not dealing with the modern times of today, not the CSI. They had to work with what they had to work with. So they took it to the lab, and the guy was like, okay, let me see what I can do with it. Let me see what type of fiber, I can work with this. So all that's going on. They had no clue who or what they were dealing with. Meanwhile, other children are reported missing. More bodies were being discovered. It was awful. It was like every 6 weeks, Obviously, this was a pattern. Obviously, this was connected. So, one of the young men, he's an adult now. He said that him and his friends was playing, hide and go seek or tag in the neighborhood. It was like 20 kids, just running around playing. And he said that he seen a man carrying cotton candy, very odd, why is he carrying around cotton candy? Now, in the vicinity of where he seen this man was at the same time one of his friends got missing. So he was like saying, it's a cotton candy man, So his friend got missing. And then a young man, he, came up missing, and he came up dead. And his brother, now an adult, a father himself, said that after his brother was kidnapped and found murdered, he said that he was at a woman's house, Miss Ellie Mae, called her the Candy Woman. He was, visiting her. And as he was leaving, he was walking down a stairwell. And at the bottom of the stairs was a black guy, had rimless glasses. His afro was, disheveled. It was a little off. It wasn't like, picked out, clean and green, conquer lean, So if he felt intimidated. He was scared because of the way this man was looking at him. So he runs up the stairs and he starts beating on Miss Ellie Mae's door. And he's like, let me in, that's him, let me in. So she opened up the door and he's standing there with her. The guy comes up the stairs and just stands there and just looks at them. Okay? He said he will never ever forget how he felt and what that guy looked like, okay? He had on a tweed-like jacket with patches, on his elbow. Of course, this young man, he was 7 years old at the time, but he had a clear sight of this monster. So, of course, this guy, he walks away into the dead of night. So, more people become missing, more young boys become missing, even 2 young girls. One of the young girls was literally kidnapped out of her bed. Someone had climbed through the window and kidnapped this young girl. So, more become missing, more bodies piled up, and then, obviously, the police department had to say, okay, there is a clear connection here. This is out of control. I mean, we're going to have to do something. And of course, people had their conspiracy theories. It was dirty cops. It was the Klan. We're going to have to do something. So, the mothers of the young boys or young girls that were missing or dead, they start protesting. They start going to radio stations, TV stations, let their voices be heard. So, of course, the police had to come out and say, okay, here's a connection here. We have a serial killer. They finally said it. We have a serial killer. I mean, that's that. So, They went to an FBI profiler, and the FBI profiler says, yes, this is a, 20 to 24-year-old male, early 20s, intelligent, live in like a middle class, neighborhood. He is educated or come from education. And he says, this person you're looking for is black. Well, what you talking about, Willis? What you mean he's black? Of course, people was like, absolutely not. There is no way a young black male is killing young black males and kidnapping and killing young girls. There's no way. No way. As you know, throughout history, most serial killers are white males. This was very rare to know that a black man can be doing this. It was, unheard of. It just wouldn't happen. So, they had the FBI profile. They had the little piece of evidence. Time went on. More boys become missing. More bodies are, showing up. So we are having a curfew. So they put in a curfew. So that put a little hit on this monster because he can no longer get these young boys, because these young boys had to be home at a certain time before dark. So he moved on to older men, 17, 18, 27, 31. But one thing about it, they all had something in common. They were special needs. He targeted the older guys who didn't have curfew, but he also targeted the older guys that were challenged. Someone he can, manipulate, overtake. So then older black males start becoming missing. Another thing the FBI profiler made clear, that you are looking for someone who is an ambulance chaser. Someone who is in the know. Someone who either, works for the paper, works for the fire department, rescue squad. Someone who is at these crime scenes. Someone who is always reading the paper. Okay? He knows what's going on. Okay, so you need to, look for that. So they started getting more evidence of these fibers. Well, the monster, the serial killer, was hip to that because he knew all this information. So what he started doing, he starts dumping these bodies in the river. So the evidence can be, washed away. So, of course, the FBI's working on it, and it was just awful. People are afraid. Children are afraid. Mothers are afraid. Everyone in the black neighborhoods was, of course, in fear. So it was an older gentleman they found on the river bank, and they found some fiber. Okay, so they took it to that lab to get it, checked out. And one of the FBI guys was like, listen, okay, we are going to have to stake out these bridges. I really do think that the serial killer is dumping these bodies. He is throwing these bodies off of a bridge. Okay, so we need to stake out this bridge. And one of the officers looked at us like, well, which bridge? And so the FBI agent was like, all of them. We're going to stake out all of them. So he goes to the commissioner or mayor or whomever, and then they approved it. They was like, you got 30 days. Okay. You got 30 days to make this happen. Okay. We're going to give you the man hour. We're going to give you the money. We're going to give you the time. You have 30 days for this, or we're going to have to cut it out. On the last day, the 29th day, they were staking out this particular bridge. It was an officer underneath the bridge, and he hears a splash. So he radios the other officer. He was like, I just heard a splash. And they was like, where you at, where you at, where you at? So they scramble. Also had cars, at the bridge. So they see this particular car. It's an older model station wagon. and they stop it, okay? And the FBI officer goes up to the car, and guess who's inside? A young black male, rimless glasses, afro askew, okay? And the FBI agent asked him to get out the car, and he was like, what are you doing here? Why are you on this bridge? You know, because this was near the vicinity of where that body, you know, they heard that splash. So the young black male's name was Wayne Williams. He said that he was a producer, a talent scout, you know. So he was going to meet a woman at 8 o'clock in the morning. Now, this is 3 a.m. in the morning. And he said he was just, you know, trying to figure out where she lived so he won't get lost when he go and meet with her. Well, obviously, the FBI agent was like, this is some bull crap, okay? He knew something wasn't right with that story. It was lies on top of lies on top of lies. So, you know, he didn't have anything to hold him on because, well, you know, he let him go. But while he was talking to Wayne Williams, the officers were searching his vehicle, and they saw all kinds of stuff, okay? All kinds of crap. And they also saw a rope, okay? A rope was inside the vehicle. So Wayne Williams gets in his car, off he goes, and so the FBI agent was like, okay, good, what did y'all get? What did y'all get? And the officer was like, oh, we didn't get nothing. He said, you got to be, what? You have got to be kidding me. You didn't bag and tag none of that stuff? And they were like, well, no. So, of course, you know, their spidey senses went off with Mr. Wayne Williams because, you know, they were like, okay, this is an odd story. He's obviously lying about why he was on this bridge at 3 a.m. So they looked into the background of Mr. Wayne Williams. And guess what they found out, y'all? Mr. Wayne Williams is 24 years old. His parents are teachers. He's intelligent. He comes from an educated home. They are middle class. And he worked, or what he did was he would take pictures. And what he did was he would go to fire scenes, you know, rescue calls, crime scenes, and he would take pictures and he would sell them to the local newspaper. That's how he made his money. But also what's funny is that everyone knew Wayne Williams. The fire department, rescue squad, newspaper, police department. I mean, everyone knew Wayne Williams. Ambulance chaser, remember? So, he was also known in the neighborhoods around his neighborhood. Everyone said, oh, they ain't nobody but Wayne. That's just Wayne. It's Wayne. Even they were doing road checks. And they were searching the vehicles, you know, looking into the vehicles, all that. But when they seen Wayne Williams go, you know, driving, they just shooed him on. And so one of the FBI agents asked the officer, said, well, that was pretty quick. Why didn't you search his vehicle? He was like, oh. The officer said, oh, they ain't nobody but Wayne. See where I'm going? So, of course, they questioned him. Of course, he lies. And so they were like, okay, we think Wayne Williams is our guy. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up surveillance around him 24/7. Okay, wherever he go, we go. And when I tell y'all this, they were in this man's front yard. They were not hiding the fact that they were watching this man. I mean, literally, they was at his mailbox. Every morning when he come out, every evening when he come home, wherever he went, they followed. They wanted him to know, okay, if you're going to snatch another young man, we're going to see you do it. So, time went on. Of course, they needed evidence. Eventually, they got a search warrant because they asked him to take a lie detector test. And, of course, he failed. So they got a search warrant and they searched his bedroom. And inside the bedroom, they found, you know, green carpet, the 80s green carpet, and then his comforter on his bed. The family owned a German Shepherd, and all those fibers, all those hairs have been found, on the soles of the shoes or some other clothing, from other murders. So they was like, this is it. Okay, let's go ahead and let's arrest him. Okay, so on Father's Day, 1981, 1 year and 11 months after the first two bodies that was found, Wayne Williams was arrested on murder. 2 charges. They charged him with 2 murders that dealt with the 2 adult men. So they didn't charge him with the children's murder. They charged him with the adult murder. So, of course, Wayne Williams was saying he was innocent. Even the parents of the victims, of the young men, of the young boys and girls was like, no way. There is no way this young black man killed my child. The officers are just trying to close this case. They don't care nothing about our children. They just want to wash their hands with it. So, of course, the prosecution and defense was getting their evidence together, and the defense was like, what will be Wayne Williams' motive to kill, his own kind? Young black boys, young black girls. What would be his motive? And so somebody had came out and said, well, because he didn't like poor people. He did not like poor kids. He felt like that the, inner city, the low income neighborhoods was ruining black people who was trying to do better, who was trying to make a stride. They ain't doing nothing but bringing us down, and plus he's a psychopath. So the trial began. The trial lasted for 2 months. During the trial, they had all this, evidence. They had the fibers, and the lab person was going to take the stand and tell what these fibers meant that was found on the bodies and what they found inside Wayne Williams' bedroom. But of course, the jurors are like, I don't understand anything you talking about. So the prosecution was like, we're going to have to draw this out. We're going to have to show them. Okay, so they had the board, and they had the fibers, and the hair, and they was doing all this technical stuff. And so the FBI agent was like, look, we're going to lose this case. Okay, the jurors are going to look at that and be like, what is he talking about? Okay, I don't care if the hue of blue would go with the hue of purple, and the hue of green would go with the hue of black, and this yarn is this and this. They're not going to think about that. Okay, they have no idea what you're talking about. What is the connection with the dead bodies and Wayne Williams? Okay, so that's what they needed to do. So the prosecution was like, all right, okay. Let me go ahead and do what I need to do. Let me just slam dunk this case. Now the defense, they were like, I really hope that the only thing y'all have is fibers. Y'all done arrested this young black intelligent man for killing these young black children because y'all got fibers? Okay, all right, we good. We good over here in the defense. So the prosecution was like, all right, we'll see what we can do. I'm going to show you better than I can tell you. So Wayne Williams, being that cocky, smart, I'm better than you, I'm smarter than you, he wanted to take the stand because no way, he's going to let them get one over on him. So that's what the prosecution wanted. Okay. So he takes the stand, and the defense attorney, asked him questions. The prosecution asked him questions. He was calm, cool, collected. All right. He looked at the jury. The jury probably looked at him and was like, ooh, this young man got it together. No way this man killed these kids. Okay. So day 2 of Mr. Wayne Williams being on the stand, the prosecution was ready. The prosecution knew what they had to do. The FBI profiler told the prosecution, when you are dealing with someone, a psychopath, a serial killer, Okay? They real good in the short run. They are horrible in the long run. Keep him on the stand as long as you can. Keep asking him the same question. Get him agitated, okay? Get him on the defensive. He will break. So that's exactly what the prosecution did, okay? He kept asking him the same questions over and over and over and over again. He kept him on that stand as long as he could. Okay, the prosecution was so defensive towards Wayne. He was like, you killed this young man. You strangled this young man. You assaulted this young man. Okay, you shot this young man. You kidnapped him. I mean, he was just going at it. And the more he went at Wayne Williams, the more agitated, frustrated, stressed Wayne Williams got, and Wayne Williams blew up like a teapot. Okay, it started bubbling, start boiling, and all of a sudden, boom. Okay, Wayne Williams went off. He was like, get away from me! Don't you call me a murderer! Who do you think you're talking to? I'm better than you! I mean, screaming, pointing, you know, rabid. And that is exactly what the prosecution wanted. He wanted the jurors to see this man be who Wayne Williams is. In fact, Wayne Williams said, you want the real Wayne Williams? You got it. So, I think the defense at that time was like, oh God. What are we going to do now? So, February the 26th, 1982, the jurors came back with their verdict. It only took them 11 hours. And it came back guilty. Okay, the judge sentenced him to 2 life terms in prison without the possibility of parole. So, there you go, right? Case closed. Okay, the monster is off of the street. So, Wayne Williams gets convicted. He gets sent to prison. But we're not done, right? It can't be done. We're not done. Okay. He got convicted of 2 grown men. Okay. The parents was like, what about my baby? All right. My baby's dead. What about the person who killed my baby? So, of course, the officers was like, we got him. Okay. Wayne Williams was the one that killed your child. Okay. He's in prison because when they started their surveillance on Wayne Williams, not one child went missing in that manner. Okay? They did not find a dead young man or woman in that manner after they started surveillance. You know, when they put Wayne Williams away, the murder stopped when it comes to those children in that manner. So, the parents, of course, was not happy because, of course, they thought that Wayne Williams was innocent. He did not kill my child. You know, of course, you know, they're still saying dirty cops and, you know, that someone in the Klan, you know, had did it. And, you know, the detectives was like, absolutely not. We got our man. No one in the Klan committed these murders. First of all, they're not smart enough to Shay. You got that right. Second of all, they wouldn't have kept this a secret. They would have put an ad in the paper to Shay number 2. Okay. No way someone in the Klan could have pulled this off. He was exactly right. Most of the Klansmen back in those days was dumb, delayed, and stupid. Period. Okay. So no. Obviously, if you are in a low-income black neighborhood and you see a white man walking around, because some of these children were taken in broad daylight. Ding, ding, ding. That's an alarm going off. Okay? No way. No way. Obviously, someone who was bold enough to take these young men and girls, they felt comfortable. Okay? They wasn't afraid. You know why? Because this person who was taking them in broad daylight looked like them. They could easily have been their older brother, their cousin, their father, their uncle, you know, their parents' friend, you know, someone they've seen in church. Mr. Wayne Williams was well known. Okay. Let's not forget what that man told us. Okay. He called him the cotton candy man. And you know what that older man said? Wayne Williams was the cotton candy man. The cotton candy man was in the same area where that young man got missing. Okay. Let's not forget the other story. The man said, he's an adult now, but he said when he was 7 years old, this guy, was intimidated, scared him. You know who that guy was that he seen in that stairwell? Who killed his brother, kidnapped his brother? Mr. Wayne Williams. Okay. He said he even had on that same jacket with the patches on his elbow. That boy wasn't lying. You have two young black men who are saying this is the black guy that we seen that was acting suspicious around the neighborhood. Okay. Wayne Williams killed those children. Wayne Williams kidnapped those children. Okay. Did he do all of them? Absolutely not. Because, they said that the two young girls and one of the young men, they believe family members did that. So no, he did not do all these murders. But I think he did the majority of these murders. Wayne Williams is where he needs to be. Okay. It was a terrible situation. It was horrible. I mean, I just could not imagine being young and black in Atlanta at that time. I mean, the fear that they must have felt during that year and 11 months. And we have mothers who are still grieving over, the loss of their child. And I think after 40 years, one of the missing, his body has never been recovered. Okay. Wayne Williams, they believe, killed and murdered 26 young men and adults. So he is where he should be. If you get a chance, please try to watch the documentary. It was on the ID channel, came on this past weekend, but I'm sure you can find it, if you want to watch it. I highly, highly, highly recommend it. It was fantastic. So anyway, don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe. And until next time, friends, bye.